What's happening, everyone? Nicky Hawkins here, West Ham Fan TV. The morning after the game before, and it's the afternoon now, and I've purposely taken my time to do this video just because I had some pretty sort of harsh words for some of the players and Moyes yesterday after the game. And I thought to myself last night, am I jumping the gun? You know, do I need to sit back and reevaluate my position? Am I too quick to jump on a bandwagon? Am I too quick to criticise after, you know, some real good work done by the manager and the players over the past few seasons? And is it just reactionary? And I really wanted to take my time to think about those things before I jumped into these videos. So I didn't do it first thing. I've had a think about it, and my position hasn't changed. And I know that there's going to be people out there, and it's going to cause arguments and splits, opinions and divides and all of that sort of thing. But a couple of people said it yesterday, and I said it on fan camps yesterday. The definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. And for me, like, Moyes has taken all the criticism at the beginning, and then he's taken all the praise. But, you know, yes, the manager cannot go out there and play the game for any of these players, that's for sure. But he has to take criticism for this one, Moyes. Again, going into this game, and listen, it's not about being beat by Brighton. We've been beaten by Brighton many a times. We haven't beat Brighton since they come back up to the Premier League. It's not about that at all. I wouldn't be so fickle as if to say, like, we've got to be beaten Brighton. We've got no right to beat Brighton. We have divine right, and they've shown us that over the last sort of 5 years or so since they've been up. It's the manner of the defeat. It's the manner of going out there with the same old team, the same old tactics, and expecting different and better after not only the first two games, which I don't think I'm trying to. This is why I don't think I am being reactionary. It's the last 10 when you think about it. Apart from Norwich, who are a very poor Norwich side, we haven't won a game in 10 games. If it hadn't been for the summer break, he probably would have had the sack, Moyes. And the comments coming out, first of all, I've got to address the Rice comments and everything else. People had sort of jumped on this bandwagon. Yeah, Rice wasn't good yesterday, but nobody was good. And, you know, when you look at his personal circumstances, Rice has been an unbelievable player for us over the last 5-6 years. Unbelievable. Very, very rarely has a bad game. Yes, he had a bad game. He's just had a little baby. Maybe, like, you know, circumstances. And I'm not trying to make excuses for anyone. I'm not trying to make excuses for anyone, because I think that was all poor. And I'll address the Souček situation in a second. But it wasn't just them. They've all been not good enough yesterday. They've all been not good enough, really, all season. 3 games in. You can excuse the Man City defeat, although I didn't think we looked ready. Nottingham Forest, quite unlucky in chance in spells, but all in all, didn't play the best we can. But yesterday was pretty much inexcusable. Not ready, not fit enough, not strong enough, no desire. Heads down, hands on hips. Nobody wants to take leadership. Nobody wants to G everybody up. Nobody wants to take responsibility in the team-wise. But when it comes to the manager, who I think has got to take the majority of the blame yesterday, he said last year when we played against Brighton, ironically, and lost out on that Europa League spot in the final day, said that we're stout. There's a few players here that are just not performing to the levels that he expects. And if we don't do something, or they don't do something to address it, we're going to be in for a long season next season. Now, we've gone out and we've just signed Emerson, which is fantastic. I'll be doing a video on that shortly, at left back. But Cresswell just lost his legs. Just age has caught up to him, and I think it's a shame because I think he's turning into the sort of Kevin Nolan figure of the side where, he's just not up to that standard anymore. But he's not picking himself. We've got one left back. We've sold Masuaku, although Masuaku was never a left back in my opinion, but he was the only backup we had. We sold him, and we've just signed another one. But he isn't picking himself. He's not going out there purposely going out to play bad games. No, none of them players are. But we've gone out and we bought a centre forward. We've bought Cornet. We've bought Keira. We've bought Areola. And we've bought Flynn Downs. And we've just added Emerson to the ranks. Now, you can't tell me that a manager goes out and tells us all we're looking stale, we need to change things up, and then don't change things. He said yesterday that some players are not Premier League ready. Well, you don't get Premier League ready by sitting on a bench. You get Premier League ready by playing games and getting confidence. And there was a couple of players there midweek that had good games, although it's against Viball, but they would have had sort of a bit between their teeth. It's very difficult to come into a game when you're losing and not playing well. We need to be starting these players. We need a change, and I don't want to be hearing. I looked at the Moyes press conference yesterday. I think he was a bit deluded in his comments, to be honest with you. He was never in that game, never. And I think he's got to sort of face the facts. Is the fact that you're not giving us the best chance. We haven't had a centre forward. I mean, this is the thing that confused me, is that we've been playing without a centre half, and Ben Johnson's been playing centre half. He's been filling in. That's fair enough. You know what I mean? Hasn't done the most stellar a job. He's done the best he can. He's done bits and pieces. He's done well, and bits and pieces he hasn't, because he's not a natural centre back. But he's filled into the position. What's the difference between him and Antonio? Ben Johnson and Antonio, because Antonio isn't a striker. Antonio's been playing that role for 18 months now. Yeah, he's done well in spells, but for the last 30 games, he scored 4 goals. It's not good enough. It's not good enough, I'm afraid, as a centre forward. So what is the difference between chucking Skamaka in, who is a natural striker, and chucking Keira in, who's a natural centre back? There is no difference. In fact, Keira's been with us, 3 or 4 days before he played that game. It doesn't make any sense, and I do fear for Moyes' job, really, because I said last season this was going to be a make or break season, and we had to get off to a good start, and we haven't. This is a season. People saying it's transitional. Is it? Because we've got the same players. How is it transitional? Transitional is when you're offloading and replacing a load of the first teamers. We haven't done that. We've got rid of some players that were never going to get into our side. It's not transitional. It's the same, and that's the problem. When in the Premier League, when you stand still and you do the same thing over and over and over again, you go backwards because everyone else progresses and goes forwards. We've bought a few players. Give them game time. Don't try and protect them. Don't try and be clever. And this is the thing as well. And Dom said this all through the summer, and I'll give him a bit of props about this. We didn't do these things in time. These are positions that needed filling. All of those players, Yarmolenko, Noble, Fredericks, all of them players that left at the back end of last season, they knew they was going for a year. You need to be, the planning of our transfer business is poor. And it was last week, I think, that they said they was going to review it because everything was taking too long. Now, I've seen a couple of things about the Onana bid, because the midfield is key, because Souček, for whatever reason, has not found his form again. He's not found the form that he had a couple of seasons ago, and even the first half of last season. He just hasn't found it. For whatever reason it is, I don't know whether it's contract talk, money, too big for your boots, just had a purple patch when he came to us, but he hasn't found that form again. Flynn Downs came in, Moyes doesn't fancy him. It's quite obvious that he's looked at him in training and he just said he's not ready. But Moyes has singled out Souček a few times, so he knows that he's not good enough. He knows that he's showing signs of lacking quality in them positions. He does nothing about it, and for me, this is quite unforgivable. We haven't got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games to waste trying to bed players in and trying to work out what our best side is. If we want to carry on the trajectory that we're in, which we very much ain't at the moment, we're sitting at the bottom of the league. We haven't got those games. We haven't got a 13, 14 win streak in us like Man City, like Tottenham did last season, like Arsenal have, like Liverpool have. We haven't got that in us. I don't think we've ever strung more than 4, 5 wins together in the Premier League, and that's being generous. We haven't got that in us, and at the moment we're on a bad losing streak. We've got players that just, we're in danger of knocking the boys' confidence before they've even stepped on the pitch. I mean, how can you turn around and say it's transitional and players ain't ready? Cornet's ready. Cornet played in the Premier League last year very well for a poor Burnley team. You can't tell me he's not ready. He's ready. He's ready to go. It baffles me. We need I don't want to hear tomorrow, we know what we did wrong, we'll go again. I want to hear, we know what we did wrong, we've got to make changes. That's what I want to hear from the manager. I doubt we will. And going back to Rice's interview yesterday, give the kid a break. He's just took over the captaincy. He's taken a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He's just had a new kid. Mark Noble a couple of years back said we weren't run like a circus anymore. We've been run more like a circus since he said that than we ever have. So, lay off the kid, and give him a break. Let him settle into his new role. But Moyes, he's been doing this a long time. He should know better. Got to be better against Villa. Got to beat Villa. If we've got any chance. If we don't beat Villa, going into those Chelsea and Tottenham games, I can see us having a real bad season. And we've got to get people in before that transfer window shuts. Because again, we cannot go into this season and a Europa Conference League campaign weaker squad depth-wise than we were last season. We need quality. And we've got a little bit of quality in. But we need more. And we need competition for all positions, not just... we need to get out of this habit, West Ham, of filling a position and letting it rot before we decide it needs replacing. We need to start proactively seeking players, and that's for every position. There's no room for the sentiment if you want to go to the top. It's a ruthless game at the top, and if David Moyes can't be ruthless, and he does try and stay loyal to the likes of Antonio and Cresswell, Souček, then he needs to fuck off as well. And I mean that with the greatest of respect. But listen, it's early. We'll see what happens. You can only watch from the outside and see what happens. But I just hope and pray that somebody in that backroom staff or the manager himself actually see the problems and don't try and paper over the cracks and blame other things. It's plain to see what the real problems are, and the manager's turning a blind eye to it in a minute and trying to blame other people. And I don't want to get on Moyes' back. As I said, he's done great for us, but you've only got so much credit in the bank before things will start to turn sour. He's got a little bit left yet, but unless he starts seeing the problems, then his time will be up sooner than he thinks. But thank you very much for joining us. One thing left to say. Come on, you irons.